swinging a drive, right field and deep. Back goes Aquino. It's got a chance. Gone. Get out the tape measure. Long gone.
Fly the W!
Cubs fans, it's time to fly the W with Dustin Rhodes and Paul Crawley-Jean.
This is the Fly the W podcast, part of the Blue Wire Network. It is episode 351. And unfortunately, Crawley, we did speculate this in episode number 350, but Horton's season is now over, and who will step up? Don't forget to listen, download, subscribe. Most importantly, review the podcast. Follow on the socials. You can check me out, Mully and Haw on X.
And you can check me out at Crawley's Clubhouse on X, Blue Sky and TikTok, Crawley's Clubhouse on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Threads. You can email us at crawleysclubhouse@gmail.com. And Dustin, you know, just kind of what we talked about the other day. You asked me where I was, and I said I was at an 8. I think you were at a 5. I was at an 8. I thought I was more at a 6, but I think, you know, you were right. And my point was during episode 350, Crawley, just really quick, was that, you know, the longer we don't know what's going on, the worse the news was going to be. And it didn't get much longer till after we had gotten done with the podcast on episode 350 that we found out what exactly was going on. To me, anytime you start talking about a guy with forearm injuries and a Tommy John in his past, I'm going to get nervous. And so here's what Craig Counsell said about this is how we found out about Cade Horton.
Cade is, we get bad news. Cade is going to have surgery. He's going to miss the rest of the year. So there's damage to the elbow, UCL damage. The exact surgery is they'll find out when they do the surgery. But bad news.
I don't think there's any other way to put it, right?
Yeah, well, there's nothing good about it, right? And we're going to talk about, who we think will step up, who they might need to talk to, or is it too early to do some type of trade? How soon is Jackson Wiggins going to get called up? But Crawley, where I'm at, who this is really bad news for?
Who's that?
Is Cade Horton. He has dealt with a lot of injuries for a young man. And I wonder just how his mental makeup is going to be. I mean, we heard this from Justin Steele last year, where, it was hard for him to not be around the team, to be rehabbing. This kind of rehab isn't something you can do consistently around the team. You've got to be with specialists. Your team is going to hit the road half the time, right? You can't do all this stuff just at Wrigley Field. So you're probably not going to be sitting around in the dugout. You're not going to be hanging out in the clubhouse. You're definitely not taking road trips with your team, at least not anytime soon. Maybe towards the end of the season, he might get on a plane or take the bus up to Milwaukee or something like that. I just wonder what his mental makeup is going to be like after putting in all that off-season work. And, he didn't even have 2 starts. He had one in a tiny bit of a start, correct?
Yeah. One in basically 2 innings. So yeah. He's a fighter. He's an athlete. These guys, unfortunately, they deal with these things, the territory. You mentioned Justin. We had on the podcast before, minor for the Cubs, and with a couple of them. This kind of goes territory with, and all you hope that back. It's a disappointment, but I think that, you just, I was mentally bracing myself for the bad news. And I think more than anything, I look at this thing and I say to myself, all right, well, it is what it is. You're going to have to, we're going to talk about it some more, next man up kind of thing. But Dustin, what even made me more nervous is that the team was already reeling from a bad road trip against Cleveland. That's when Cade left the game, and that's where they got their news on Saturday. It was really on Friday. It was really brutal, but we made some predictions about how the Cubs versus Rays series was going to go. And here's what we had to say.
Well, time to make some predictions, Crawley. We just did the pitching matchups that we assume are going to happen. We don't know yet. We are assuming. We do know that Jameson Taillon was going in game number 1.
Yeah, I know people aren't going to like this. I don't like Jameson Taillon. I am uncomfortable because I know in that first game that he pitched, he looked decent in. That wind was blowing in, and that was a miserable game. Honestly, I wish almost Jameson could have pitched. Well, I don't know if I would want Shota pitching in a climate control either, but I don't like it there. And who knows? We'll see what happens. This one's a toss-up because McClanahan, you don't know what you're going to get out of him. Game 2, I think Drew Rasmussen beats Javier Assad. I think the Cubs take game 3. Colin Ray pitching versus Joe Boyle. Rays take the series 2-1.
So Cubs don't get swept, is what you're saying, right? Cubs
Correct.
don't get swept.
They take the last game.
Boy. Unfortunately, I'm going to say the same thing. We don't know the pitching matchup. Bats have to come around. Don't get swept. I don't think they're going to get swept. If they get swept and we get back here on Wednesday, then Crawley, I am going to join that group of people that you're upset with. I will not say the season's over, but I'm going to have issues.
We got the pitching matchups for the Cubs right, but the Cubs got a little bit of luck that we're going to have to talk about. They got a break, right? And so the Cubs leave Cleveland after splitting a doubleheader. They had the lead twice and they ended up blowing it. And so they come out to game 1. And this one, like I said, I just didn't feel like I liked the matchup, especially with Taillon. And this was just a bad loss, Dustin. You had poor pitching from the starter, untimely hitting, and lots of Cubs strikeouts, some bad defense, and another bullpen implosion. I felt like this was one of the worst games of this early young season, right? Just was not a good one to watch.
Don't disagree. No, not a good one to watch at all.
Top of the second, Rays starter Shane McClanahan completely loses command. And that's kind of the one thing why I thought, well, maybe the Cubs have a chance. He walked the first 2 batters on 8 pitches, threw a wild pitch. Shaw and PCA would both strike out, and it looks like the Cubs are going to blow this. But Miguel Amaya draws a big 2-out walk, bases loaded for Captain Clutch, Nico Horner. He singles, 2 runs score. Cubs are up 2-0. You're feeling good, right? Now you just need Jameson to come in and pitch a shutdown inning. Doesn't happen. With 1 out, Chandler Simpson singles, steals second and third. That doesn't matter. We told you during the preview of the series last episode that Cedric Mullins has Taillon's number. And sure enough, Mullins hit a 2-run blast to tie it. Jameson gets the next batter to strike out, but then Taylor Walls hits one. It looks like Ian Happ maybe lost the ball in the ceiling or the lights. They got a new ceiling in the trop right over there, and I think Ian lost it, to be honest with you. And so that counts as a double. Yandy Diaz hits one up the middle. Dansby Swanson fields it, but his throw's offline. That ball gets past Michael Busch. Another run scores, and the Cubs now trail 3-2. 2 plays, Dustin, that the Cubs Gold Glovers usually make that cost them a run. They weren't easy plays, but they're plays we expect them to make.
Right. Now the defense is something that you didn't think you're going to have to worry about, right? You're worried about the pitching going into this one. You're worried about the ice cold bats going into this one, but you thought you'd at least play defense, and that did not happen in this game.
Now, in the top of the third, the Cubs hit 3 balls to the warning tracks. McClanahan's on the rope after that last inning. Ian Happ hit one 379 feet. He gets robbed at the wall, and that's just how it was going for the Cubs, for most of the season until the last couple games. Bottom third, Dustin, Taillon versus Junior Caminero. Remember, Caminero hit 45 home runs as a rookie. He was in the home run derby, and I'm looking at this, and I'm like, this is just a bad matchup. And sure enough, J-Mo throws a 90 mile per hour meatball right in his happy zone. Junior Caminero blast that one. I don't think it's still landed yet, Dustin. It was not good. Bottom of the fourth, I do have to give Dansby credit. He made a beautiful over-the-shoulder catch to rob Cedric Mullins of a base hit. Kind of looked like a Willie Mays over the shoulder. It was a nice catch. Top of the sixth, Ian Happ and Carson Kelly lead off the inning with back-to-back doubles. Tying runs at second, no outs. Busch hits a sac fly, right? So now now you're down 4-3. Happ scores 1-run game, but Dansby strikes out and Matt Shaw flies out to end the threat. Could have tied it there, but they don't. But they only trail by 1, Dustin. And remember, we said that this was the 29th worst bullpen in baseball. But then in the bottom of the 7th, Phil Maton comes into the game for Tyone, who had only given up 1 hit after the home run to Mullins. Went 6 innings, 4 runs, 3 earned on 7 hits, no walks, which was an improvement, 4 Ks, but 2 home runs. Not the best start, not the worst start, just kind of what we expect from Tyone at this point, right? 3, 4 runs. But Maton comes in. He gives up a leadoff walk to the first batter he faces. He gets a nice catch by Ian Happ. So Ian Happ makes up for the other one. That catch had a 15% catch probability on that one. He strikes out Yandy Diaz, but then he leaves a hanging curveball middle. Jonathan Aranda hits one 403 feet. The Rays extend their lead to 6-3. Matt Shaw hits a solo home run with 2 outs in the 9th, his second in as many days, but PCA strikes out to end the game. And the Cubs lose this one 6-4. And manager Craig Counsell was clearly frustrated at the post game, and I think he had every reason to be.
Yeah, I mean, I think today was a little bit of a combination of at times we hit some balls good and didn't get rewarded for them, and then at times we had some empty at bats that didn't put enough pressure on them. And then you look up in the, in the 8th inning and you got 3 hits. So the McClanahan, yeah, I mean, we had really, the second inning, we had a very good inning. Some guys had some good at bats, but it's just, we won, we need to win one more at bat, the next inning we came out and hit 3 balls really good and got nothing for it. He kind of got through it, and then we just didn't do much against their bullpen. Had one little rally going pretty good and had some good matchups kind of coming up and just couldn't finish it.
Dustin, 4 runs on 4 hits, 2 for 7 with runners in scoring position. They left 4 on base. They struck out 9 times. We've talked about this before. You can't win many games with 4 hits. Just not going to happen.
4 hits, 9 strikeouts. That's a bad combination.
Right.
That's a bad. Is it okay if I'm done with Maton already? I know some people are done with the season. I'm not done with the season, but I am done with Maton.
Well, we're going to get to that.
I am thoroughly unimpressed with him so far. Thoroughly unimpressed.
We're going to get to that. But Dustin, when it seems darkest, sometimes you need something, right? After a horrible loss, we talked about pitching, bullpen, defense, hitting. The Cubs needed a break. They needed some sort of reset, right? The offense has just been way inconsistent and not really good most of the year. Do you remember the movie Bull Durham? Mm-hmm. And in that movie, the Bulls are playing poorly and they're on the road trip, and Kevin Costner and the guys sneak onto the field and they run the sprinkler system the night before so that the game gets canceled.
Yeah.
It's a very similar thing happens. The Cubs get a huge break. It's supposed to be Javier Assad versus Drew Rasmussen, one of their best starters. Well, he gets scratched from the start as his wife is delivering the baby early. So she was supposed to be delivering it later in the week. Well, the baby came, and so Rasmussen scratched. He goes to be with his wife, and now they're going to do a bullpen game, Dustin. Like I said, 29th bullpen in baseball. I just feel like if they didn't take advantage in that game, that was where I was going to panic, because that was right there on a plate for you. Mason Englert gets the ball, and, the Cubs took full advantage of it, right?
They absolutely did.
You got to do that. Second inning, 2-out rally. Dansby doubles, Conforto singles, Shaw doubles, Cubs up 2-0. Top of the 3rd, Alex Bregman doubles, PCA singles. He causes some chaos, steals second. Throw goes off the glove of the second baseman into center field. Bregman scores, PCA to 3rd. And Dustin, that's the thing I'm missing. Home runs are great for PCA. I just want him to get on base. I want him to get base, and that causes that havoc. People get nervous and they make mistakes, and you saw it there. Miguel Amaya would hit a sac fly to score Pete. Cubs up 4-0. The Cubs would also hit a couple of long balls. PCA gets his first of the season, a laser shot, 108 miles per hour off the bat. How about this one, Dustin? Most home runs as a center fielder since the start of 2025. Trent Grisham from the Yankees with 33. PCA tied for second with Julio Rodriguez, Byron Buxton third. But that's from Marquee. That's a pretty impressive list to be a part of, right?
Really nice.
And then Mo Baller got his first of the
He got
season,
his
a
too.
2-run blast.
That's good. There's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with
No,
that. Hopefully that helps his confidence.
For an offense that was struggling, Dustin, everybody contributed. Nico Horner, we talked about that when Craig finally put him in the leadoff. I don't care if it's righty versus lefty. I don't care what. I want Nico Horner at the top. He was 2 for 4, a walk, 2 singles, 2 RBIs, and a stolen base. Alex Bregman with a great game, 3 for 5, 2 singles, a double, and a run. PCA, 2 singles, including a bunt single and a home run and a stolen base. Mo Baller, 2 for 4 with a home run. Dansby, 2 for 5, double single, 2 runs and a stolen base. Michael Conforto contributing 2 for 3 with 2 singles, 2 walks, a run and an RBI, and Matty Shaw with a double, a single, and an RBI. Dustin, other than 2 guys that struggled, Bush and Amaya in this game, everybody else was feasting. Now,
like you said earlier, Crawley, taking advantage of a pitching matchup that is in your favor. That's what they did.
Yep. And of course, one of the heroes of this game, as much as the offense was important, the question was, this was supposed to be the Matthew Boyd start, and he had the bicep injury. And all of a sudden, this was Craig talking about next man up mentality.
From a team perspective, we have to look at these as, someone else is going to get a chance. And there's, going to be opportunity for someone else to prove, they can be a part of a great baseball team.
That chance was for Javier Assad. He did not break camp with the big league team. He went to AAA Iowa. He wasn't on the playoff roster last year when against Milwaukee. And you just sit there and you know what? The guy just keeps posting every time he comes up. He posts, right? Another dominant game against the Rays. He goes 5 2/3 shutout innings, gives up 1 hit, 2 walks, 3 Ks, no home runs. Dustin, they were just off balance all night. They couldn't hit him. Now, to me, though, the most important thing was the shutdown inning, right? Every time the Cubs scored on that second game of the doubleheader on Sunday, they would give up the lead. And every time they scored on Monday versus the Rays, the pitchers would give up the lead. Not Assad. Cubs scored 2 in the second. He sits them down in order. Same thing in the third, right? Sits them down in order. He didn't give up a hit until the 5th inning. An infield single to the speedy Chandler Simpson. But he got a strikeout and a double play to end the inning. 1 infield single and a pair of walks for Assad. That's all the Rays could do. And Assad was asked about it after the game. Here was his translator, Freddie Quinones.
Yeah, firstly, really, terrible news for Kate. He's a great teammate. He's a great pitcher. I don't really know even what to say in that circumstance. Just, terrible news. I got the call yesterday, and, I'm here to help the team and whatever's needed. Yeah, it's obviously that's not necessarily what you want. Obviously, I want to be here, right? But those are things I can't control. Decisions I don't make. But I was just down there working, just keep working hard, just waiting for whenever an opportunity presented itself. So the opportunity presented itself today.
Dustin, I think people may forget how good he was because we didn't see him much last year till the end of the year with the oblique injury. And so I'm not saying Assad is a 1 or a 2, right? That's what Cade Horton was, what we expected to be, a 1 or a 2, a front of the line starter. But can Assad give you meaningful innings and keep you in ball games? 100%. And that's what he did in this one. Dustin.
Yeah. I mean, it's just that he does it, it's not sexy, right? What he does is not sexy. It's efficient. He keeps you in games. He induces double plays. He might walk a guy or 2, but he only strikes out a guy or 2. And it's just not, he's not a swing and miss type guy, but he shows up. I think I saw a stat. The Cubs have won 6 of his last 7 starts. Now, that doesn't mean he won, but when he was on the mound to start a game, the Cubs won 6 of 7. So that's a pretty good, trend is your friend type of number. And hopefully the Cubs are paying attention to that.
All right, Dustin, here we go. Phil Maton, you ready?
Mm-hmm.
The only negative of this game was Phil Maton.
Yep.
I joked in our preview show before the season started. I asked you, I said, who's going to be the free agent bust in the bullpen? Right now, again, early, all arrows are pointing to Maton. He pitched Maton's pitched in 5 games. He first appeared March 28th. He finished up an inning for Cade Horton in a blowout game, faced 2 batters, didn't give up a base runner. You say, okay, all right, no problem. Second game he appeared in was on March 29th versus the Nationals. Cubs were trailing 3-2. Shota walked the first batter. Maton comes in, gives up a walk, hits the next batter, gives up a sac fly that was charged to Shota. That made it a 4-2 ball game. Then his next appearance was against the Angels on March 31st. Scoreless game in the 6th when Maton comes in. He uses a leadoff walk, a double, and a single to Logan O'Hoppe. 2 runs come across to score against him. Those were the deciding runs as the Cubs lost 2-0. On Monday against the Rays, we talked about it, right? He gave up that home run to Jonathan Aranda to make it a 6-3 ball game. And then on Tuesday, the Cubs are leading 7-0. Everything's going great. So Counsell must say, all right, let's give Maton some work, take the pressure off, right? No big deal. Single. He gets a fly out, hits a batter, gives up a double, a run scores, gives up a single, another run scores, strikeout Junior Caminero before Counsell has to go to Caleb Thielbar to finish the inning. His ERA is currently at 13.50.
That's not good.
They just did a piece on The Athletic. He was talking to Sahadev Sharma. So, he's working on some things, but he's got a long way to go to prove himself here because that was not pretty.
No, not pretty. Not pretty at all. That was opposite of pretty, Crawley. It was pretty ugly.
Now, Dustin, in game 3, I was confident about this one. Colin Ray versus Joe Boyle, rubber game of the series. The Cubs bats came alive in the second. Could they come back again in this third game? And absolutely. Nico Horner leads off the game with the solo home run, his first of the year. Cubs up 1-0. The Rays would tie it up in the bottom of the third off Colin Ray. Johnny DeLuca would single, steal second, advance to third on a ground out. Yandy Diaz would get hit by a pitch to put runners at the corner for Jonathan Aranda. He hits a sac fly. Game's tied at 1. Then Ray makes a huge mistake. He walks Jake Fraley, and now he has to face slugger Junior Caminero. But he gets Junior to strike out to end the threat. That was a huge part of the game, I felt. And after that, I felt like Ray was really locked in the rest of the game. He would pitch 5 innings, give up 1 run on 2 hits, 2 walks, 2 Ks. Again, not sexy, but you'll take that every time. Now, the Cubs would untie it in a big 5th inning. Carson Kelly would lead off with a double, and then Boyle issues back-to-back walks for Michael Conforto, who really enjoyed hitting in Tampa. He crushes one deep. It goes off the glove of center fielder Johnny DeLuca. 2 runs come around to score. The relay throw from right fielder Jake Fraley doesn't really hit anyone. It just starts bouncing through the infield. The first baseman Aranda John Dansby sees this. He's running from first base. He's going to try to steal home. Jonathan Aranda, the first baseman, picks up the ball, and then he spikes his throw. It gets past the catcher. 3 runs come around to score. The Cubs up 4-1. Conforto standing at third, and the Rays are charged with 2 errors on that play. Nico Horner, RBI machine, doubles to score Conforto. Then Michael Busch hits a swinging bunt. Catcher Hunton Fiducia throws it all the way into right field. Nico comes around to score. Cubs extend the lead to 6-1. 3 errors in 1 inning for the Rays. We told you on the show last time, tail of the tape, the Rays are ranked 30th in defense, and that inning showed you why. The bullpen did fine. Hobie Milner came in and didn't give up a base runner. Ben Brown pitched 2 innings, gave up 1 run on 2 hits. I thought that was good. No walks. He did, however, have a wild pitch, and Hunter Harvey finished it up. But Dustin, when you took a look at that first game and the way that they played, it looked like it might have been a sweep against the Rays. That's what it was looking like to me. And
Sure did.
I just wonder how much that mental break of not having to, for that offense that was on the ropes, to not have to face Drew Rasmussen, to face that crappy bullpen and be able to really just start hitting. And what do they say? Hitting's contagious, right?
Mm-hmm.
But here was Craig on the real difference makers of the series.
I think that's absolutely the story of this series. I think we got 2 great performances from, guys that, as of Friday, we weren't planning on starting in this series, and they delivered, 10 plus innings of 1-run baseball, and that's pretty darn good. So, credit to those 2.
Everybody's got to step up, and those 2 guys did their job. But that's Phil Maton we're talking about. That's Michael Busch who's struggling. You're going to have struggles, but this team needs to pull together to get to the postseason. They need the offense clicking. They need the starters to give them some length, and they need the bullpen. to get outs. And so I still believe in this team, Dustin. I still believe in my preseason predictions without Cade Horton. Don't know how long Matthew Boyd's out for, but I still believe in this team. But everybody's got to pull their weight. You can't feel sorry for yourselves. And I felt like it was a good bounce back. Now I want to see them do the same thing at Wrigley Field.
Well, I heard Pat and Ron talking about it yesterday on Cubs baseball. And, if you can go 500 on the road and win series at home, you're going to play in October. So that's what they did. They took care of business on the road. They end up winning, splitting. They go 3-3 on the 6-gamer, and they're going to be back at Wrigley. We're going to talk about that in just a moment. This is the Fly the W podcast, part of the Blue Wire Network. We are happy to be talking to you about the Cubs and the winning series against the Rays. It's episode 351. Unfortunately, we are talking about Cade Horton's season being over and who steps up and who slides in to that role. Don't forget to listen, download, review, subscribe to the Fly the W podcast. 5-star review, we'll take it. You can email us, Crawley's Clubhouse, gmail.com. Don't forget, you can watch on Crawley's Clubhouse YouTube page. In this segment, Crawley is talking to Noah Hiles of the Bucko Territory podcast to preview Cubs Pirates at Wrigley Field, including pitching matchups, offseason moves, and which players are hot and which players are not. All right, this is the Fly the W podcast, part of the Blue Wire Network. And of course, this is episode number 351. Horton's season is over, and who steps up? Review, listen, download, but most importantly, subscribe. 5-star review, we'll take that as well. Email us, Crawley's Clubhouse, gmail.com. Don't forget, you can watch us, as you might be right now, on the Crawley's Clubhouse YouTube page. Odds and ends time, Crawley. Take a look at Cubs news and news from around the majors. There are a couple teams, Crawley, that have high expectations that are starting even worse than the Cubs have started.
Well, again, this is where you get the early thing. You saw what Seattle just had a bad struggling. There are teams that are struggling.
The Tigers just lost a 4-game series to the Twins. They were swept by the Twins in a 4-gamer. Crawley's favorite kind of series, a 4-game
God,
series.
I hate them. But you take a look here. How about this? The Reds in first are tied with the Brewers in first place, followed by the Pirates and Cardinals, and then the Cubs are in last place at 6-6. Again, still a lot of time. Nobody's panicking, but the Reds are hot. They're 7-3, and so are the Pirates coming into Wrigley. So, Dustin, I said before the season, I had the belief that it's very possible that 3 more teams could end up in the postseason from the NL Central, and I still kind of feel that way right now. I'm just really hoping the Cubs are one of them, and like I said earlier, I think they can be, but plenty, a lot of time, but hopefully you got to stay healthy. And that's where we kind of get to the injury report right here. How about this right here? Seiya Suzuki will be back with the Cubs. He finished yesterday, his last game with the Knoxville Smokies. Our good friend Mick Gillespie down there kind of keeping us abreast of everything that's going on with Seiya Suzuki. And he had a really, he did what he was supposed to do. He played his game, and this is from Mick right here. He batted .462 in 4 games. And so, again, it's AA pitching. He's just getting the bat warmed up. Question, Dustin, number 1, do you think Seiya Suzuki starts off playing right field on Friday, or do we see him DH?
Well, I would DH him to start with. I would let him get back into the fold a little bit. I wouldn't rush it, but the lefty, there's one lefty in this series, right? And we're going to get into the pit, but he's in game number 1, right? So I'm assuming that when they love to do the righty lefty thing, so they're going to load up with as many right-handed hitters, right, as humanly possible. Seiya is a right-handed hitter. So if anything, maybe Moises Ballesteros takes a seat in game number 1 as a lefty, correct? And
right.
he sits down. You let Shaw play right field, and Shaw is also a right-handed hitter. So I think I would DH Seiya. Now others would say, let him get back out there. Let him get back out there. Let him get on the horse. He already had his, tiptoe through the tulips, if you will, down with the Tennessee Smokies. I could see it both ways, but the weather's not supposed to be great tomorrow. It's supposed to improve as the weekend progresses. So if it's a little bit wet overnight, if the grass isn't great, I personally would DH him. How about you?
I could see the DH working on that. I don't have a problem with that at all. But now the second question we got to look at, who goes down?
Well,
and you can't say Phil Maton.
Yeah, can't say Phil Maton. Okay, so you sold me on one of their outfielders when we were talking about roster construction, Crowley. You sold me on a guy that could play the outfield, that had also played right field for the Cardinals. So far, he started one half of a doubleheader, and I think he pitch ran. That's what we've gotten from this individual. So
Dylan Carlson, yeah.
If that's what you're going to do, then what are we talking about? But we don't know exactly what's going on with Ian Happ's heel. Now, the skipper told us that he should be back today. Okay, he should be back today, but he's not back yet. So is it Scott Kingery because you have Matt Shaw who can play everything? You got Suzuki back. So I think it's either Scott Kingery or Dylan Carlson. How about you?
I would agree with you on there. I think Conforto saved himself the last two games.
Right. I mean, exactly
off.
Right. I would have said Conforto, but I'm glad we're not saying Conforto. He can play left. He can play right, hit the ball. I mean, he got lucky, I guess, but that's part of baseball. He ran his ass off. He hustled. So yeah, he's sticking around.
Yeah. And Conforto was asked about his performance, and here's what he said.
Much more comfortable, much more on time. Definitely not the start I wanted, especially at home in Wrigley, but you just got to keep showing up, working, doing all the right things to get better. And we tweaked the routine a little bit and just tried to go out there with confidence and try to take advantage of the time that I'm getting out there.
I think it was huge. Like I said, that homestand was disaster. The mob was out with the pitchforks getting ready to buy him a bus ticket. And then all of a sudden he turns it around. So let's keep rolling. You're not going to sit the hot hand, right? You're going to play him.
I would think so. I would think so.
All righty. We, as far as the bad news, we talked about it a little bit earlier. Cade Horton has an injury. He's out for the season. Here is what General Manager Carter Hawkins had to say about losing one of his top starters early.
I mean, so the preparation really starts in the offseason as we're thinking about how to build depth. You never know who the injury is going to be, but you expect that something's going to happen over the course of the season. Obviously, it'd be awesome to go wire to wire with 5 starters, but haven't seen that since the 90s. Yeah, I mean, it's bringing in guys like Colin Ray. It's having guys like Javi Assad available in the minor leagues. It's always looking for different alternatives, on the external front. And we'll continue to do that, and looking forward to some of these guys stepping up and then keeping us in a position to win baseball games.
Now, he doesn't think that obviously you're not going to trade anybody. Nobody's trading anybody in the first month. I mean, that's just not happening. Okay.
Not very unusual, right? Very unusual. You're and there would probably be like a tax on that, right? You'd be overpaying if you were to pull that off.
Yeah, nobody's doing that. Okay. Now, Dustin, all offseason, we looked at the Athletics' top 50 free agents. And out of those 50, 48 found new homes. 2 did not sign, both former Southsiders. Number 30 on that list, Lucas Giolito, and number 50, Michael Kopech. Any thought on either of those guys?
I said this on Mully and Haw. I think they should be on the phone with Lucas Giolito. I know Lucas has kept himself up and running. I know he's been training. I know his price tag was like $13 or $15 million in the offseason. It can't be that high right now. I wonder if there's any kind of insurance policies for the Cubs when a player goes down with like a season-ending injury. Not that they wouldn't have to pay it, but if there's insurance or some type of way to defer the money, it shouldn't be a problem. It's probably like how about 1 year, $8 million, Lucas Giolito. You pitch well in Chicago, you're going to get multi-years somewhere else. And if all these guys come back healthy and you're not kind of SOL and you don't really have a spot, let's say, because guys came back, specifically Matthew Boyd and obviously Justin Steele. Well, if you pitch well, somebody's going to pick you up. Somebody's going to pay you. But come to Chicago and prove it. He knows the area. That's what I would do. Or let's go bring Jackson Wiggins up. I just think it might be a little bit of a rush job. how long can Assad and Colin Ray be Band-Aids? And now when you take Colin Ray out of the bullpen, how does that affect who's stepping up to cover Colin Ray in the bullpen? It ain't Phil Maton. I'll tell you that, Crawley. It ain't Phil Maton.
Well, I'm just going to say this right here. I do not think that they are going to go external on this. I really, truly don't. And I'm a little bit nervous too, because Tommy Birch, friend of the podcast, a couple hours ago said Jackson Wiggins, who was originally slated to start on Friday, is no longer listed in the team's pitching probables. Comes farm director Jason Kanzler to the Des Moines Register. We are being strategic with how we deploy our pitching. That's very cryptic, Dustin. I don't know what that means.
Oh,
and
does that mean he's getting called up? Right? Does that mean he's getting called up?
Does that mean he's not feeling good? Does he have an ouchie somewhere?
It could be the opposite, right? We don't know.
I don't think he's coming up. I really don't think he's coming up. I don't think he's ready. I don't think they're rushing him. I don't think that's happening. I think they're fine with the way things are going as far as using Assad, using Ray to cover this right now. They have a lot of guys down in the minors, and hopefully, Riley Martin has barely gotten a look yet. I'd like to see him. A couple other guys, we'll see. But this is what Craig, remember, Craig says, next man up. Guys that have an opportunity. You have an opportunity to be part of a team that's supposed to go far. Are you going to take advantage of that? So to me, that's the thing. But there's one guy, Dustin, and it's kind of one of these things where you kind of forget about some of these signings that kind of happen. You're like, why did they sign this guy? He's not what? He's not what? If you remember in the offseason, Dustin, there's a guy named Kyle Wright that the Cubs signed who is coming back from injury. He might be ready by the end of the season. Now, in 2022, Kyle Wright for the Braves won 21 games. He's been injured 2023, 2024, and now in 2023, he didn't pitch much. 2024, he didn't pitch at all. And 2025, he didn't. So the question is could you find something like the Guardians did with Matthew Boyd, right? Matthew Boyd came in 2024. He came on at the end of the season when they were going to the postseason, and he really did well for him and parlayed that into a contract for the Cubs. So that's a name to keep in the back of your head. They tried to do that with Michael Soroka last year, and he just wasn't ready. He looks a lot better this season. It was a decent move. Just didn't pay off. But again, keep Kyle Wright in the back of your head as we're talking about this. Carter was asked about the surgery that Cade Horton is going to be going through.
Did see Dr. Meister. So he's seen our doctor, Dr. Grislow. He's seen Dr. Meister. He's going to have surgery. We don't have a date for that quite yet. Just working through some scheduling on that. Not in a hurry to do it tomorrow, but it'll be sooner than later. And in terms of exactly what the surgery will be, it'll be on his elbow, it'll be around his UCL, whether it's revision, reconstruction, internal brace, all of those different things. That is kind of, once you kind of get into the surgery, that's when those decisions are made more often. So don't have definitive stuff on that yet, but would have it after the surgery.
Okay, so he threw a lot of words in there. They will not know what's going to go on with Cade Horton until they open him up, until they take a look at that arm. Okay. And so you heard
Wouldn't
him
you like
say,
it to be sooner than later though, right? Like what are we waiting for?
It will be relatively soon, I'm guessing right here. Now, when you talk about revision, that's a secondary surgery that's performed when a previous reconstruction fails. And we know that Cade did have a previous Tommy John surgery. Okay. When you talk about reconstruction, that's when you replace the damaged UCL with a tendon graft, usually from a forearm or a leg. That's a 12 to 18 month recovery time. And then when he talked about internal brace, that is one that is a much faster recovery if there's less damage. And so that's what Justin Steele, who also had a previous Tommy John, that's what Justin Steele had. He had the UCL repair with an internal brace. So it's a repair and an augmentation. And so if he goes that route, he, similar, because all the time frame is very similar to what happened to Justin Steele. You could have Cade Horton. We don't know if there's a 2027 season or when it's going to begin next year, but you could have him potentially next season if it's, best case scenario. So best case scenario, we're talking about 6 to 7 months. If you're talking worst case scenario, you're talking, 12 to 18 months.
Yeah, you're talking like after the All-Star game next year, assuming that we have a season, right?
Yep. And so, just keep the fingers crossed. Like you said, prayers with Kate Horton. We'll see what happens, but not good right now. But let's get things a little bit more positive. I gave you a homework assignment. I wanted you to take a look and listen at the Lovable Reunion episode featuring the former skipper of the Cubs, Joe Madden. And so I was very interested to get your take because, Dustin, I know sometimes you get a little bit upset, you get a little bit of this and that, and Joe Madden's kind of got that calm aura, that relaxed vibe to him. And I wanted to see if any of it rubbed off on you.
Yeah, life's good, babe. I mean, he's great. He's always fun to listen to. There's no doubt about that. I could listen to Joe Madden talk all day long. I think Joe Madden was the right guy at the right time. You will hear that from Rizzo and Ross in this podcast. Also found it interesting that that Madden interviewed for the Red Sox job that ended up going to Terry Francona right at that time. And Madden said he wasn't ready for the job at that point in time. But it's all about, we also hear about, it's Madden setting a vibe, if you will, setting a tone, establishing a clubhouse. He's a big believer of less is more. Rizzo complained about having to get to the ballpark at noon for a 7:05 or 7:10 start under previous skippers. And Madden's like, that's absolutely ridiculous. Madden also talked about, the balance of all the external information, right, that you get versus the eye test versus the good old fashioned binders and a little quick video study. So it's very interesting. It's good storytelling, definitely worth your time as we remember and celebrate 10 years ago.
Now, I got to ask you, Dustin, it really is one of those things that when you and I grew up, it was more of the old school, old feel of the manager. And it was funny when Joe Madden was talking about the old days, no one from the front office would even dare go into the manager's office.
Never.
Like that was not even thought about, but when you think about the guys like Sparky Anderson or Whitey Herzog, those were all the guys that just basically managed on intuition, Jim Leland, intuition, feel, those type of things. And Joe Madden was really one of the first to really kind of say, you know what, give me the data. Let me look at the analytics. I'd like to look at it. And Joe would often talk about going to a coffee shop and kind of reading through everything, kind of, sparking them, just things that he was thinking about before they would go in there. And then when he talks about at the end of his tenure, all of a sudden, you're starting to get lineup cards handed to you. You're starting to being told this is what you need to do instead of letting the manager make the decision. And you and I talked about, David Ross as a manager and Kurt Suzuki and some of these other guys. Is Joe behind the times a little bit as far as baseball's moved on in a different direction? Or is he right that it's gone too far of front offices being too involved? Just give the manager the data and let him make the decisions.
Well, I think the problem is, Crawley, is that owners have a shorter fuse, if you will, a shorter leash. And so you really can't just get, unless you feel very strong about your relationship with your owner. If you are the president or the general manager, you might get fired before the skipper gets fired, or the skipper might, the three of you have to be on the same page in today's baseball. And I think we've now seen where the manager, the skipper, if you will, is no longer the biggest voice like they used to be, right? We hear a lot more from presidents of baseball operation, vice presidents of baseball operation, general managers. We hear from them more. Before, I don't think outside of your town, and even, everybody knew the managers. People didn't know the general managers. And I think in today's baseball, the general managers and the presidents more than ever before. So I think it's really important that, you want to keep your job too. So you want to be as involved as humanly possible, and you want to be in charge. You want to be the one who gets two managers, not the guy who's fired because the manager is going behind your back to ownership. So I'm not surprised that they had a great relationship until they didn't have a great relationship. And that's I'm talking about the Cubs front office and Joe Madden.
Yeah,
They started to tell him how to fill up that lineup card, and that's when things got bumpy.
Yeah, there was a couple other things that end up happening. He put in a guy that he wasn't supposed to as a relief pitcher from the Dodgers. Can't remember his name off the top of my head. And there were a couple other little things, but it's
but
just
those are small gaffes. I mean,
this was a big one because I can't remember who it was. It was a closer that
something about rest. It was something about
Right? And the guy ended up blowing his arm out because of. Joe didn't have anyone else on the bench, so he went with the guy because he could throw. And
where's the pitching coach, right? I mean, where's the pitching coach in that spot? Where's your bench? Where's your bench coach? I'm just saying, unless there was like a behind the scenes fight where they told Joe, "Hey Joe, like you can't do this," and Joe's like, "Screw you, I'm going to do it anyway." That's different. But
Right.
it is the reason you have a pitching coach and the reason you have a bench coach is to help you out with these decisions because there's a lot going on.
Well, Joe was told not to do back-to-backs with this bullpen guy, and it was one of those situations where it was an extended inning, extra innings. They were out of arms, and basically it's like, this is my only option, and did that. And I know that was a very big issue between Joe and the front office. But I again, a lot of great stories. I just, again, even if you aren't a baseball fan, somebody that's into leadership and how to lead people. I think, to every guy on that team, to a guy will say that Joe Madden, was the one that helped guide them to the World Series. It took them to that next step. I don't know if anyone else could have done that. The next time we come around and talk, Dustin, we will review the next episode, which is going to be an interesting one with Johnny Lesta. So Johnny Lesta does not talk too much to a lot of people. So I am very curious.
No, but he's going to talk to David Ross. David Ross is his guy. David Ross is his guy, so he's definitely going to talk to Ross.
Ross and Rizzo, they love each other, so so this is going to be an interesting one. But Dustin, the Cubs are coming back to Chicago. I will be there this weekend. If you're around, please find me, say hello. I'll, if you're following at Crawley's Cubs, I usually post up where I am and all that stuff. How about Saturday, our first bobblehead of the year? Ben Zobrist.
Zobrist, okay. Yeah, I thought it was the Zobrist one. Yeah.
Game 2016. The original one that they had of that, I have that over there to the side. He's got the fist up in the air when he's jumping up and the helmet comes off. This is the one immediately after where he points to the sky. So it's almost like a continuation. So I'm very excited about the bobblehead. Now, Dustin, as we start to make our predictions, I will say that this is not your, 10, 5, 6, 7 years ago Pirates team where you could sit there and be like, this is going to be easy. No problem. This Pirates team is a much, much improved team. The Cubs went 10-3 against the Pirates last year. I can tell you this, it ain't going to be 10-3 this year. This is a team that is much better at hitting, much better at fielding, much better at pitching. This is as good a Pirates team that I've seen since 2015 when the Cubs bounced them from the wild card game. So with that in mind, Dustin, we need to make some predictions. Game 1 is Friday, 1:20, the first Friday, 1:20. You are going to see Carmen Lejiski versus Shota Imanaga. You're going to have Brandon Ashcroft versus Edward Cabrera and Bubba Chandler, versus Jameson Tyone on this one. So this is what we have here, Dustin. If you are going to make your predictions right now, and just keep in mind here, like you mentioned earlier, you got righties for all 3 games. So all 3 games, you got righties going. So if you're taking a look at that right there, what are you feeling for this series?
2 out of 3. Cubs will take 2 out of 3. They win the series. Like I said earlier, you got to win series at home. You got to split on the road, and you got to win the series at home against the Pirates. I agree with what you said earlier. You're not going to be 10-3, so you better get at least 2 out of 3 at home to make sure you at least have a winning record against this team when it's all is said and done. So I like 2 out of 3, and I especially like Cabrera on Saturday afternoon.
Ooh, so that's the one that scares me the most, especially because
Oh wow. Okay.
it scares
Because
me.
you're going, you're the kiss of death, Crawley.
No, I mean, I think hopefully Jamison Tyone gets it in for game 3, but I got a feeling the game 2 is going to be a true pitcher's duel. And I think they're both going to pitch great games. It's whoever's going to be able to score off the bullpen. And right now, the Cubs bullpen makes me a little nervous. I don't feel like it's locked in yet. I still have the Cubs taking 2 out of 3. But I'm not sure which game they're going to lose. I think it's going to be a very close series, and the Cubs take 2 out of 3.
That's a wrap. Don't forget to listen, download, review, and subscribe to the Fly the W podcast. Email us your thoughts or your questions, Crawley's Clubhouse, gmail.com, or you can watch us by subscribing to the Crawley's Clubhouse YouTube channel. Crawley, enjoy the trip to Wrigley. Go Cubs, and we'll get back at it either Sunday evening or Monday to review.
I'm excited. I hope to see everyone out there. Our good friend Steve Scher, it's his birthday today. The mayor of Mesa, Steve Scher, coming in. Happy birthday, Steve, number 49. I can't believe I'm older than you, but happy birthday. And again, hopefully the Northsiders come in and are ready to hit like they've been hitting in Tampa. Go Cubs!
It's all over.